of the biggest reasons Mandarin learners struggle to make progress in spoken Chinese is that they get stuck in the very stage of learning, pronunciation and tones. After working with many beginners, I have noticed that most pronunciation problems don't come from a lack of effort. Most learners are simply told to listen and repeat the same word again and again. But they are still using the English pronunciation habit without realizing it. The fastest way to improve your Mandarin pronunciation isn't simply listening and repeating. It is understanding how the sound is physically produced. That means learning the correct mouth position, tongue position, and the airflow for each sound. Once you understand that, your progress becomes much faster. And if you're just getting started with Mandarin pronunciation, there are two foundations you absolutely must master, which is Chinese tone and Chinese simple finals. So today we are focusing on the simple finals. The reason that simple finals are so important is that nearly every compound final in Mandarin is built on this basic sound. If your foundation is correct, learning the more advanced sound becomes much easier. But if your foundation is wrong, those mistakes will carry into dozens of other Mandarin sounds and make pronunciation much harder later on. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how native speakers pronounce those 6 most important Mandarin finals. I'll also show you the most common mistake I see students making and how to avoid them. And make sure you stay till the end because the last 2 finals are the ones that English speakers struggle with the most. Hello, my name is Jeannie. I'm a Mandarin coach. I help Mandarin beginners who struggle with tones and pronunciation fast-track their progress and finally start speaking Mandarin confidently. Over the past year, I worked with students who start from completely zero and help them reach their first 5-minute Mandarin conversation in about 3 months, without drowning in hundreds of characters, difficult grammar rules, or endless memorization, saving them years of unnecessary time, effort, and frustration. Let's start with the easiest Mandarin final, R. Fortunately, the sound is quite easy for most English speakers because it's very similar to the vowel sound in the English words, such as the R in father, R in spa, R in aha. So when you produce the R sound in those English words, notice that your mouth is wide open and your tongue stays relaxed and your jaw drop naturally. So try again with me. Ah, ah, ah. Now, there's one small exception. In some pinyin, such as yan, yuan, the ah doesn't sound exactly the same. Instead, it shifts closer to the a sound in English. For now, simply remember the basic R sound. Overall, most English speakers get this one correct very quickly. So the difficulty level of this R is 1 out of 5. So this sound is also relatively easy for English speakers because it's very similar to the E sound in English words like see, meet, feet. When producing this sound, your lips spread slightly, almost like a small smile. Your tongue sits close to the back of your lower teeth. So try it again with me. E, E, E. Pretty easy, right? But there is a very important exception. One of the most common mistakes that beginners make happen in the following pinyin: zi, ci, si, and zhi, chi, shi, ri. Many students automatically produce the E sound. However, E here do not produce as E. It is actually a silent sound. So I wouldn't explain too much here, but if you would like to know more detail about how to pronounce those zi, ci, si, and zhi, chi, shi sound, please watch the 2 videos here and here. For now, just remember that except those pinyin that I just mentioned, it's literally produced like E in English. So the difficulty of this final is 1.5 out of 5. Now let's talk about O. This is where some English speakers begin making mistakes. When students see the letter, they often pronounce it like the English word O, like go. However, Mandarin O is different. So Mandarin O is much closer to the vowel sound in the English words like law, saw, awful. So try saying this word law and notice how your mouth stay in one position. Law. And now you're saying the words go, go. And notice how your mouth moves during the sound. So English O often glides between two sounds, while Mandarin O does not. The mouth remains much more stable throughout the sound. So try again with me. O, O, O. Now, here is an important exception. In some Mandarin pinyin such as bo, po, mo, fo, when spoken, sometimes it more sounds like bo, po, mo, fo, which leads us to the next Mandarin final, u. So overall, the difficulty of this Mandarin O is 2 out of 5. By the way, very quickly, after coaching many beginners, I have noticed the same pronunciation mistake happening again and again. So I put together a free guide called Why You Struggle with Mandarin Pronunciation and Tone. And inside, I summarized the 10 most common learning method mistakes that most of the beginners make. So if you're interested, click the link in the description below to get it. Okay, now let's move to the Mandarin U. Fortunately, this is another sound that most English speakers can learn very quickly because it's very similar to the U sound in English words such as food, moon, two. When produce this U sound, notice that your lips are rounding into a small circle. Your lips push slightly forward like this. Your tongue stay relatively relaxed. So try again with me. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Now you may have noticed that the mouth shape of this ooh sound is a bit similar to the o sound because both sounds, the lips are rounded into a small circle. However, the key difference is this. When producing ooh, your lips push much further forward. Ooh. But when producing o, your mouth is more relaxed. So try comparing them, saying like this. Ooh, o, ooh, o. Can you tell the difference? This distinction becomes very important because it helps you pronounce one of the most common Mandarin pinyin, wo, wo, which sometimes also appears as wo. Some students struggle with this pinyin like wo, guo, duo, tuo. And the reason is very simple. So they try to pronounce this entire pinyin at once, like with just one mouth shape. But instead, think it as a movement from one mouth position to another, right? From like u to o, u, o, u, o. Notice how the lips move from a tighter, more forward position into more a relaxed position. And now you gradually connected them together will become like this. Wo, wo, wo. If you are struggling with this sound, make sure there is a visible mouth movement between the U position and the O position. So as long as you can already produce a good English U sound and you remember to push your lips slightly forwards, you probably won't have too much trouble with this sound. The difficulty level of this sound, I would say, is 2.5 out of 5. Now, we are entering what I consider one of the most challenging Mandarin sound of English speaker, the Mandarin In fact, if I have to choose one vowel sound that I correct most in the students, it will probably be this one. Most English speakers see the letter E and immediately assume this sounds like the English one. Unfortunately, that's not how Mandarin works. The Mandarin is actually much closer to the vowel sound in English words like serve, bird, turkey. So feel what your mouth shape is and where your tongue position is when you produce this in those English words. So your lip and tongue should remain relaxed. Your jaw open slightly. So in many ways, it's actually very similar to the Mandarin but the biggest difference is simply that your jaw does not drop as far. So you can try this exercise with me. Ah, 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 ah. Can you feel the differences? When producing your mouth is open wider. But when producing your mouth remain more closed. So this differences makes a huge difference in pronunciation. Now let's talk about the mistake that I see often. Mistake number 1, producing like the English E. This is probably the most common mistake among the beginners. Mistake number 2, producing it like the air in English word, bed, air. So again, this one isn't correct. Mistake number 3, confusing it with Mandarin So the other Mandarin pinyin when you pronounce that, the tongue curl backwards, while the Mandarin the tongue stay flat and relaxed. There's no tongue curl up. Mistake number 4, not opening the mouth enough. So I hear this all the time in the pinyin such as 这, 车, se. So students often keep their mouths almost closed like this. 这, 车, se. So it actually sounds like the other pinyin like 支, 吃, 思. So remember, even though the jaw does not drop as much as the Mandarin final R, but it still needs to open. If the mouth stayed too close, the sound becomes unclear and different. So this is why I consider this is one of the most hardest final for English speaker. So the overall difficulty level of this is literally 5 out of 5. At this point, you might be thinking, okay, I understand the theory, but how do I know if I'm actually pronouncing this sound correctly? And that's exactly where many students get stuck. The reality is that pronunciation is difficult to self-correct. The sounds that sounds correct to you may sound completely different to a native speaker. In fact, one of the biggest challenges with pronunciation is that most students do not realize they are making a mistake in the first place. They're practicing the sound over and over again, believing that they are producing them correctly. But without feedback, they may be unknowingly using the wrong mouth position, tongue position, or airflow. As a result, they end up repeating the same mistake hundreds of times and gradually building habits that become harder to fix later. This is something I see all the time when working with beginners. And that's exactly why I create my program, Master Mandarin Pronunciation and Tones. Over 6 weeks, I personally listen to your recording, identify the specific pronunciation issue that are holding you back, and show you exactly how to correct them. Instead of wondering whether you are saying a sound correctly or not, you will receive clear feedback on what needs to be changed and how to improve it. I have helped many students build a strong pronunciation foundation, avoid years of unnecessary frustration, and progress much more quickly towards having real conversation in Mandarin. If you would like personalized feedback on your pronunciation and tones, you can find the application link in the description below. Okay, now let's talk about the final sound, Mandarin yu. And for many English speakers, this is the most unusual one. The reason this sounds feel strange is because it doesn't exist in English. So how to make this sound? Step number 1, start by saying the pinyin E, which is like the E in the English word see, E. And step number 2, keep your tongue exactly where it is, E, E. And then step 3, while keeping the tongue in the E position, round your lips as if you are saying the Mandarin final U, which is like U in food, like U. So you watch this. What we're doing is like this. E, E, E. The secret is that your tongue position comes from E, your lip position comes from U, right? And then together, that's the U. If you're struggling with this sound, it usually means one of two things. Either your tongue is moving or your lips are not pushing forwards enough like the U sound. So this is literally one of the exercises I frequently use with my students because it helped them to understand exactly what their mouth should be doing. So overall, the difficulty level of this Mandarin yu sound is 4 out of 5. Now that you understand the basic Mandarin simple final, the next step is to learning how to combine them with the Mandarin tones. If you haven't mastered 4 Mandarin tones yet, make sure you watch this video. So 10 minutes to master Chinese tones. In the coming week, I will also make more video about how to produce those common Mandarin compound sounds. At the meantime, you're welcome to watch how to produce those difficult Mandarin initials such as 鸡七西, and why you can't pronounce the Chinese 知吃诗, and also how to correctly pronounce the difficult initials such as 子 and 词. So I would like to know, for those 6 final, which one did you used to struggle with the most? And did you discover that you have been producing any of them incorrectly this whole time? After watching today's video, can you confidently produce those 6 simple final? So welcome to leave a comment and let me know. Thank you for watching today's video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.